Um, I look like a hot mess, but whatever.
No, girl, I had to throw on the headband. I was like,
Yeah.
we're doing a bun and we're throwing on a headband because that's how it is.
My postpartum hair, baby hairs are, well,
Hmm.
I have the blur, so you can't
Yes.
really see, but
I
ooh,
remember those. God, the wildest. Okay, real quick before we get back into what we were talking about, the wildest stuff about like pregnancy and having a baby. I'm like, my foot grew. I had to throw away my shoes. I was like, no. I was like,
yes.
I
Okay,
wear
I've
a
heard
different
that.
size. Like we lost our hair. Some people have like teeth issues because like I don't know what it does to your teeth, like the enamel or whatever. And I'm just like, there should be like a warning before you get pregnant. Like these are
Warning,
things that may
may
happen to
may
you.
cause slow deterioration.
For real. Like they suck you. Like I love my baby, but man, they
They
suck all the
literally
nutrients.
said,
You know, they
yeah,
take it. They take
yeah.
all of it.
It's a trip. Like I didn't. That's something that I did not expect. Um, I mean, like you hear all the stories and stuff,
Right,
but
right.
like I don't know. For me, I was like, well, I mean, I have tons of hair, so even if I lose some of it, like you
Yeah.
probably won't notice it. And then, of course, the only
It,
place that I really lost it was right in the front,
yeah,
and
of
my
course.
baby
Not
hairs
like in the
was a hot
discrete
mess,
areas up in center. That's
right?
so,
So,
yeah.
like, yeah. Um, but now it's like growing back. It was all the way back here. Like,
Yes.
and I was telling my husband, like, oh my God, like I'm balding. Like, this is not something that I expected.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a whole thing. So,
It's
whew.
I
But
don't know. Birthing, mothering, all of it. It's wild.
yeah, it really is. But anyways,
Okay.
yeah, back to what we were
So what we
talking
were
about.
saying is, so I'm dealing with all these health things, and so I feel as if I'm at a point where it's been like 6 months where I'm like doing all the things to heal, natural meditation, supplements, any IV treatments, anything, whatever. So now I'm like, does my body just because essentially the job that I do, I feel like it triggers my symptoms. So what I've learned, I guess, about Bell's palsy is like one of the nerves in your brain gets inflamed, and my trigger was stress. So my body is very much like when I do my work, um, it like, whether it's a lot of paperwork or a lot, I supervise people, I create plans for the kids. Basically I work with, kids with disabilities. I write their plans. I supervise the people that teach them. And so it just triggers my symptoms and it's really scary. I was telling Deshira, I'm like, who am I if I'm not this, right? Who
Mhm.
am I if I'm not a behavior analyst? I've done this work for 15 years, 12 years as a supervisor, 3 other years as working direct with the kids. And it's really terrifying to even consider doing something else fully. So that's
I think that we all come to the, especially like when we're in this industry and like becoming an entrepreneur and trying to like pave our own path. I feel like we all come to this very moment of like my old life and the person that I was and the
and I
identity
didn't
that I
realize what a
held.
big part of my identity that is.
Yeah.
I didn't realize. I was
Yeah.
like, it makes you feel like, oh, if I'm not that, then I'm not anything. I'm not worthy. I don't have value because it's just in society's eyes, the value was very high, right? I went
Mhm.
to school for a long time. I do something that is very, powerful, giving, and now it's
Mhm.
like, if you take that from me, like, what am I, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, and the degrees and stuff like that. Like we hold
I
these
have letters
degrees.
behind my name that I worked
Right.
really hard for. If I
Right.
don't have those,
So like, yeah, when you take those
who, like,
away,
if you
like,
strip it down,
yeah.
like, what? You're gonna strip me down after, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm
Mhm.
tripping
But I
real
think
hard.
like your experience in Japan at the conference, and for people who don't know what we're talking about, last year our company held a conference. They do one every year, and it's huge. And so our company is based out of Okinawa, Japan. And so they had this huge convention there. And I had major FOMO that was the month that I gave birth to my baby.
Yeah.
So I wasn't there, but oh my God, from you
It
when
was
you
the coolest. It really,
oh,
like, it's hard when you're like that, who would have thought your child would be born that month, right? It's
I know.
completely out of your control.
No, and
Yeah.
both me and Cam, my husband, we were both like, no, we're going to Japan. And then it was like, well, that's actually the month that
Yeah, literally. I
yeah,
know.
so or like right before. And so anyway, but just the experience that you had, that was like an initiator.
It
And
was. I
then
went to the
all of this
conference. I was
happened.
like, okay, I'm gonna put a ring on it. I'm gonna
Yep,
put a
like
ring
I'm
on a
all
magic.
in.
This is all in. I'm done. Like, I'm ready. I've been wanting this for so long. And then, you know, you think you have control of your life, and life laughs at you and says, "Yeah, well, we're going down a different path." So,
We'll
I
see. We'll
first
see
time leaving my
how
child,
serious
I've
you are.
never traveled without her. So I was like, I'm going to Japan. I'm gonna put a ring on a magic. I'm doing this. Go over there. I'm like, why is my eye dripping? That's weird. I'm on the flight, my eyes drippy, and I was like, why does it keep like dripping? Like, why, like that's weird. Then I'm like eating, and I'm like, why is my mouth going to the side? I'm like all these crazy symptoms. First time leaving the country without my child, traveling without her for the first time. I went to the conference by myself. There was nobody from like our group there. Like I just was like, I'm gonna meet people, and yeah, like I legit had like my half my face was paralyzed. I was like messaging my naturopath, emailing her, like, I don't know what to do. I'm in Japan and
Oh
I have
my
Bell's
God.
palsy. I don't know what to do. Like, I can't, I can see a doctor here, but I can't communicate. So, yeah, it,
That's wild.
yeah. And I kind of thought, like, oh, Bell's palsy and it'll go away, whatever. And then from that, I had to learn, like, no, your body was in fight or flight for so long. Now you're having your blood pressure drops all the time. Like it was just crazy like how many symptoms I had, which I thought it was just like a temporary thing, and it just kind of snowballed. So I had to take 6 months to like literally I didn't have like hunger signals anymore because of the fight or flight. My cortisol was through the roof. Like I had to learn how to eat at every single meal, have snacks. I had to learn to meditate. I told you I'm like slightly obsessed with tapping right now because
Yeah.
it helps you soothe your nervous system.
Yeah.
I don't think I was fully aware of how in control or like how much we can participate in calming the nervous system.
Mm,
So these
I like
active
that.
tools that I'm using and things like that. But yeah, it's been 6 months of just a lot of healing and you know, not being able to throw myself into the business as I thought. And I've just been trying to do my job, as best as I can while I heal. But it really has felt like, a big part of my stressor was, and not because I have great coworkers, I have an excellent boss, I make my own schedule. Like on paper, I have the ideal job. Like I truly do. I get paid well. But at the end of the day, you know, my job is still triggering all my stressors, and it's like, man, that's a hard place to be because sometimes it's easy for people. I have a
Yeah.
crappy boss, I have shitty hours, like it's clear that you need to walk away, but for me it's not. It's
Mm,
not clear that way,
yeah. Yeah.
but I have to accept what my body is telling me.
Right.
And as much as I've been like trying to resist it, like I feel like, okay,
Yeah.
where do I go from here?
It's so interesting that like our body can just tell us like what we need. I mean, it does. It tells us what we need.
It
And it's
literally,
our job. Like you were saying, you didn't realize how much we're able to participate in like, calming ourselves and
yeah, I had no idea.
yeah,
I was
but
just
it's
like, I
like
think you have to be on a beach. Like, you have to be doing nothing.
right.
Like, it can't be like in the middle of your day, literally tapping these points. And like, I'm like, oh, wow, I feel so much better. Like, my
Yeah.
system just went down a couple notches.
Yeah. That's
Um,
huge.
Kind of like
And
maintaining yourself throughout the day, right?
yeah.
Like, I didn't
Yeah.
know any of these tools. And I feel like they're pretty life-changing, especially for moms who are
Oh, absolutely.
like,
Oh
that's
my
what I mean.
God.
Like, I thought I could do it all. I was like, I homeschool, I do all the things, I work the hours, like like I could do it all. And then my body was like, "Hello, hello. No, we can't." Like your body has a breaking point and mine reached a breaking point. It was like,
Yeah.
"Sit down. Like you have to relearn all these things.
Yeah.
I'm not available for all that." So,
So now moving forward, like, do you think that this is like your like another like calling point of, hey, like you said what you said. Are you serious?
Right. That's what I mean. It's
Hmm.
okay. This is gonna sound weird because it's like, be careful what you ask for. Because be careful what you ask for. Because the reason I say that is because I'm like, I want this, way of making an income. I want it. I want it really like it's something that I've always wanted. So when you want something and then you have no choice but to do that, that's something different than when you're like, oh, I have time. I'm gonna do it. I'll do it. I'll do it in a little bit. And then when you're really sat down and say, hey, like you said you wanted that, I'm telling you this is not available to you anymore. Now what? Like that's where I feel
Right.
like I'm at. And I'm low key shitting my pants. Yeah, like because it's you know what I mean? Like no
Yeah.
one ever thinks like I'm no longer gonna be able to do the thing I'm really good at or the thing that
Mm,
comes naturally or the thing that makes me money. Like,
mm,
you know.
yeah. Oh, here's Francis now.
Okay.
Hi,
What's up,
friend.
girl?
Hey
How you
girl.
doing? Sorry I'm late.
No,
No
you're
worries.
good.
We're already rolling.
We're
Oh,
rolling. We're rocking and
hi.
rolling. And
Okay, what are we talking
Oh
about?
my gosh. So I'm breaking it down for Deshira because I'm like, basically, I've been trying to work through these past 6 months trying to heal, and my body is still super triggered when I work. Like, it's really
hmm
hard for me to work. And I was telling her, I'm like, I feel like I've always wanted to, go full force with the magic. And now, like, I very much feel like it's the crossroads of like my body is saying no thank you to the work that I've been doing for so long, and it's so scary to be like, okay, am I ready to walk away?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's big.
Yeah.
Because it's like putting full faith into your dreams and your health and your well-being, or staying in a structured environment because you feel and know, quote unquote, it's secure.
It's like, and I told her, I said, it's easier sometimes for other people that like have a crappy boss or don't get paid well, or these things are not, my struggle. They're not. So it's
Right.
like harder to be like, that may not be the best thing for me.
But even then, and like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like your line in the sand moment is almost more meaningful than like, oh, I hate my boss. I don't want to work for anybody else. Like, that is still very meaningful and not wanting to work for anybody else, like having your own time. But yours specifically is your health. Like,
Yeah.
you're either like fully mentally, emotionally, physically drained, or it's
Yeah.
like, you know what I'm saying? And for most people, like for me anyways, like I was physically drained,
From your
emotionally
work.
drained, yeah, from
Yeah.
working. And granted, I was pregnant when I last did my job, but so like that's also a reason. But for you, like you have the luxury of working at home, but it's still that structured environment and it's still affecting your health. So it's
It's,
like,
yeah,
yeah.
I think
Also
the
love it so
idea of
much.
leveraging money into sales and saying, hey, you can get paid X amount and it's never tied to your time necessarily. Do you know what I mean? Like, hey,
Hmm.
I get great pay, but I have to put in my 40. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I have to give that much life force in exchange. And I
You
think,
know what I found too, and sorry to cut you off, but
yeah,
like since I haven't been working and since I've gotten past my hump of like I'm afraid to do it, I'm scared to do it, like since I've gotten past that and I've just started doing it, I've realized the work is 24 hours. Like you never get to stop. And so, but it's so much more rewarding because you're doing it and you're putting the energy in to it. Like yesterday, we ran a class at one of our cute little local coffee shops, and I met so many people, and I made so many good connections. And like, we ran a class with this one girl, she's an artist, and she was just like a little bummed that we didn't like get as many, like secondhand offer buyers, even though the class, like, people paid $35 a person, there was 20 people there, kind of thing. And her mindset was like, oh, like, I wish I got more money on the spot. Like, it was like the lack mindset versus where I was, and I could see where she was coming from because I used to come from that lack mindset. And I was like, I'm just grateful for the connections that I made today. Like, I had so much fun. I'm grateful that I didn't have to work in a 9 to 5, like, work under somebody. I was doing this all myself. Like, and it was, the time was 2 to 4. I made, we made $700, and it was like the quickest $700 I've ever made in my life. I had so much fun. I connected with people, and like, it was just so much more meaningful doing that. And I'm so much more willing to put in the time to that kind of connections and things like,
Mhm.
what I'm saying,
Yeah.
versus putting the time and energy into um, something that's consistent, which is like a salary, you know?
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
know if that makes sense or ties into what you're
Well,
trying to
it's basically you're putting your energy and your time, does require time, but it's putting your energy into something that feels a lot better. That's and not to say like Nettie, you like your job. Like you
Right.
like working with these kids.
Yeah.
You are, like you said before, you're making an impact in these families' lives.
Right.
And on paper, it's ideal. That's
Right.
amazing. And
Right.
you worked really hard for it. But there's still that factor, there's that aspect that's still missing. And your body is noticing it.
Mm,
That's the thing is like,
And
yeah, because that's, I think that's what I want to say about my journey, my path, what I've, is that like I had all the things that people are looking for. I had making your own schedule. I have a great boss. I love my coworkers. I love the kids. Like these are the things that everybody is looking for when you're an employee. And still, I got to this burnout point. So it's not so much those things because those things can be great. It's just the structure in which you have to exchange X amount of time of, your life, your energy, your capacity in exchange, right? So when you leverage that, I was thinking about that because I'm like, man, like the way that, this business works and it's leveraged and you never, de-rank and you want something that like, God forbid, not it be your health and you have to like stop working, but like you have a parent or a family member that you need to go help, right? If they're ill or whatever it is. It's just that like this structure never allows you to have a break without it affecting your income. And so like it's just crazy to me that this business allows for those things to break down. There's so many people that have had to put a pause on the business, but they had they had the ball rolling, so their residual income is still supporting them through those hard times. And unfortunately, the way that the structure is with, most of our jobs as employees, it doesn't allow for that. And that's just part of the human experience. There will always be a situation where maybe you gave birth and those whatever weeks they give you isn't enough because you had a C-section or because you had a complicated birth. Like it's not just illness. There's so many life things that will need that time. And if you don't build something that allows for that, that allows you to be supported during that, then you know what I mean? Like that's what I'm thinking ahead of like this has been really hard for me to be like, oh, like I had to step back and now the money's not coming. Like I need to build something that allows for if that when because life is life, right? That ever happens again or if I need to support someone or someone in my family, like that's not a problem anymore. Do you know what I mean?
right.
Like
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And something that Francis you had said earlier was like when you came to that point of like pretty much going all in this business. Um, and now, like your ball is rolling and you've seen the momentum and you're seeing like the fruit of that basically. And I was kind of mentioning that earlier was like I think we all come to this point of that decision of am I going to go all in this business? And I think like when you make that decision, one, you make that decision, but two, you got to follow it up with, it's like I heard somebody say, and it's like stuck in me, is you you're you pray for your you pray for God to guide your feet, but you have to be the one to willing to move your feet.
There,
And that, like, ever
That's
since I heard
big.
that, I'm like, that's like my motto now. Like,
oh my
I keep
God.
praying for guidance, but I need to be the one to move. Because when
Okay.
you take a
Oh,
step,
that,
that, like,
that,
when you
Currently
take
because,
a
dealing with a
step,
blowout, ladies.
you are
Sorry.
going to see the
good.
momentum. You are going to see that guidance that you've been praying for. And like for
Oh
me,
my
when I had
gosh,
that moment
Shira.
of like, okay, like, God, I've been praying for this. I've been praying for this like momentum. I've been praying for my business to like take off. But the moment that I decided that I was actually all in and I was gonna go move my feet, regardless of what comes up, because life is life, because of the self doubt, because of the overthink, because of the, oh, I have a kid, so I'll just put this on the back burner. Like, it's so easy to do in entrepreneurship. But as long as you are willing to move your feet, God will be there to be like,
Oh
yep,
my,
here you go.
that one for me, because I have this meditation that I've been doing daily. And part of that meditation says, God, angels, universe, I pray for this, blah, 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 I manifest this. But it says, I'm willing to do my part. I'm willing to be moved. I'm willing to be, you know what I mean? And that just
Yes.
gives me chills,
Ooh,
because that's the part where it's like, we can woo woo and manifest and pray all day, but are you willing to move when it's time to move? And
yeah.
Mhm.
I just got full body chills, because that's what I've been literally meditating on every day. And it's like, I'm willing to do my part. And it's like, okay, all
Like,
right,
do it.
You got
time
to
to do
hold up
your
your head.
part.
It's your time. You
And
got to
that's the
step
thing
in.
too. What you just said, Deshira, like it's always followed by action. Like you have to, even when it's unknown and scary and things, like taking the risk, taking the uncomfortable step is entrepreneurship for one, but it's necessary because thank you. Um you're never going to move in any direction until that step is taken, and you never will know what you're doing until you start doing it, you know, like there's not a blueprint unless you're taking a class or of some sort, like, you know, um how there's master classes and things like that, and how to run a successful business and step by step. And I think that that's one thing for me personally was guidance, mentorship, but also just like being back against the wall.
I was gonna
Like,
say messy action,
uh-huh.
like
Yeah.
left and right.
Yeah.
Wrong,
Mhm.
doing it wrong, doing it, eh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
doing it mediocre, doing it not great at all, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
but just doing it. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like I feel like in your situation, and this could be something that someone online could relate to, you don't love social media, Nettie. And you're like,
That's a huge part of my resistance. Like
yeah.
this us posting that and like seeing myself. Oh my gosh. One day I was scrolling my YouTube and I saw our video and I saw my face and I was like, "Whoa." I was like, that's a first step for me, because I've been so resistant to this. I'm like, I don't want to
Mhm.
be seen. I don't want to but
Mm,
like this
mm,
this podcast has been like, okay, you didn't die. It's out there.
mhm,
Like people
It's
are
out
mhm.
seeing
there.
it. You're alive, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like with your specific situation, not liking social media, that's either the thing that you have to decide. Like you don't even just have to choose. You have to decide, okay, I'm afraid of being seen, but this is kind of the route that I want to take. Do I start with physical action? Like for instance, I bring this up with me all the time. Like I wasn't seeing anything on social media, and so I decided to do the market. I was like, okay, if it's not working this way, it's going to work this way, kind of thing. And even then, like I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't see any results right away. And this sticks in the back of my head every time with Myron Golden. He says, disruption will always follow intention. Whatever you're intending to do, if you're intending to start your business and you're starting from the ground up and you're intending to make small goals and achieve those small goals and just move forward with it, there's always going to be something that interrupts that pattern, whether that means your health. Like for your story, you went to Japan. You did the damn thing, and you were like, my intention is to go to Japan, to get hype about my business, to get excited, to meet people, to have community. And guess what happened? And guess what followed that? Disruption. Your health went to shit. And it's like, okay, here's God testing you. And I don't even think God tests us in this way, but it's like you almost have to see the disruption coming, because that's what's going to follow your intention. Like it's like, how are you going to handle this?
Right.
Where are you going to go from this? Like, this is always going
Mm-hmm.
to show up in your life, this
And
disruption.
how do you spin it? Because
Mhm.
I was like, why? Like, woe is me. Very, very briefly, I was like, woe is me. Like, what? Why? Why?
Mhm.
And then I was like, if I continued, what if I had a stroke? What if I had something more
Mhm.
serious? Because I couldn't stop the pattern of the way I was functioning. I was
Mhm.
pushing to the limit every day. I was like, I don't care. I can do it. You can push. The disruption was necessary, right? Like,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
it
Yeah.
absolutely was. And people need to start seeing like the disruption as there's something a little bit bigger here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's a
And a
sign.
little like a piggyback on that is that disruption too. It's like people get into that mode of woe is me and being like, why is my life feel like it's falling apart? Why is this falling
Like,
through?
I'm a
Why is
young
that
mom.
falling
Why is
through?
my freaking health,
Yeah.
on the
But it
ground?
but
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
very important to know that when things start to feel like they're falling apart, think of it as like a puzzle.
Mm.
You're,
Like, that's your sign.
something's falling apart,
Uh-huh.
but it's because something bigger is being built with those new pieces,
Mhm.
reconfiguring into something way better. And that's the part that's like, we've heard like, oh, you have a breakdown to have a breakthrough.
Right.
And that is the key. It's like to
It's
push
Yeah.
past that
It's a
that
perspective. Like,
breakdown.
can you, yeah,
Yeah.
And
Because
it's
don't, if you let
also,
it hold you down, it will.
yeah.
But if you push through and you're like, you know what, I'm not going to give up on myself because I deserve this. I am worthy. I am enough. And I am capable and qualified to do what my intention is to do. This
Mm,
I want this.
yeah.
So I'm
And
going
you
to
know
start
what?
moving my feet in whatever way that looks. But when the universe, when God sees that, and is like, okay, I got you.
that's, yeah,
And that is
And
the only way you learn. That is the only
yeah.
way you learn. You think about it in like hypothetical, when I start my business and everything goes perfect, like everything's just flowing to me. What are you learning from that? Nothing. You're learning to be cocky. You're learning to be like, oh, this is how everything works. Like everything is like cool and dandy, and like my business is just flowing. And it's beautiful to have that mindset, but there's one thing to be naive and there's one thing to be real. Like, realness is like, I'm going to have to learn from my fall downs. I'm going to have to learn from falling flat on my face and learning how to get back up, learning how to walk forward and find the direction in which that takes me to the goal that I want. Whatever it is, I have to do it. And it's
yeah,
literally all about self discipline. It's about accountability. It's about taking action when you say you're going to take action, because whenever you tell yourself you're going to take action and then you don't, and we've mentioned this before, you lie to yourself. You're
Mm,
creating mistrust in yourself. And so therefore, whenever you want to go take further action again, you almost feel unmotivated to take that action. You're like, oh, I didn't do it before. And inside, your subconscious is like, you're not going to do that thing. Like, you
mm,
keep telling yourself you're going to do that thing, but you're not going to do that thing. You're too afraid to be seen. You're too afraid to XYZ. Here's all the limiting beliefs that make it
it's
like,
reinforcing all the
woo,
nonsense in your head for sure.
mm-hmm. I know
yeah.
that's hot.
No, like I literally have chills because that's so true. And that's something that like for me, I've definitely dealt with in like small and big things, like as simple as like the simple things. We've talked about this on another podcast was like the little habits. They matter. Like for me, I always have the intention of doing yoga every day. Do I always do it? No.
Right.
But I always tell myself, I'm like, I want to do yoga today. I want to make that a point. And the days that I don't, I feel like shit because I lied to myself
Right.
and I didn't hold up my end. So like my inner my inner self is like, you lied to me again.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like, that is detrimental.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Currently making a smoothie, so that's why I muted myself on second.
But yeah, no, I the small things compound.
Yeah. And okay, so bringing it back to, because when we first started talking about this, you were like, oh my God, I'm going to talk to my boss. And I'm like, whew. So let's talk about that.
No, because like, and I just want to end this really quick because it's really about taking that first step, Daddy. And I know, like, Deshara and I have like been with you, like we've been with you through this whole journey. And so, and it's so crazy because we only meet once a week, and we still like hop on here,
The
like we just
connection
talk
is
every
so
day.
like the vibe is so strong with us for
Yeah,
real. Like when we
I
all
love
met for
it.
the first time, I was like, oh my God, I feel like
Like
I've
this
known
is
them
working.
forever.
Yeah, but and that's the thing is like we've seen where you're at, and it's like it's literally a test of like, am I going to create excuses for why I can't do this, or am I going to listen to the falseness of my subconscious and my limiting beliefs and let that run my life? Or
Yeah.
am I going to say, F you, I'm going to push that all aside and just do it messy, do
It's
it scary, do
my
it
husband has
taking
literally been,
risks.
I've been with him
Mhm.
8 years, not going on 9, whatever. And he's like, this is funny to me because you don't know what no is. You never have. Like when you want something and it sounds ridiculous to me, I laugh because I know you're going to get it. So the fact that you're tripping is just, it's funny to him because he's like, you don't know no if you actually want to do it, you know? So I'm like, man, like I needed to hear that. Yeah,
You do
I
have
needed
a
to hear that.
drive.
Like I needed to hear that because I am
Yeah.
a stubborn, like real, like intense human when it's a yes for me,
It's
you
being
know?
strong.
So
Yeah. Yeah. And like kind of going back to the online thing, like that's kind of like where you're at. Like would you, I mean, that's the beauty of this business is
I
like
think
you
so
don't
many people
only
have
have to do
resistance
it
to that. So
online.
like the resistance of being seen, the resistance of being online, to be honest. Like I don't
Yeah.
think this is a me thing. I think so many people that, we have conversations with about like, hey, I really want to do this business, but I don't want to be online. And so for me, it's really like for this podcast, for example, I'm like, I really think these conversations need to be heard. So how do I do that with my content? Like less, less about like, oh, I don't want to be seen, I don't want to be cringe, whatever, and more of like, what is the important stuff that I feel really needs to be out there? Because
Hmm.
that's what made me not be resistant to this and post it and share it and things like that. Do you know what I mean? When
And
it's
think
like,
Right.
about how
Yeah.
this is helping other women, other men, even like just it's literally you can apply it to both. It really is true. I mean, yes, we're mothers, yes, we're women, but at the same time, like if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to do the things that it takes. Like you can't let the fear run your life. You can't
Yeah.
be of fear. You can't be of lack. You can't be of desperation and things like that because at the end of the day, we're all vibing at an energy frequency, like at a,
I
you know,
I just read that. It's
yeah.
like I read this thing that was like money isn't real. Money is energy. And I'm like,
Mhm.
dang,
It's
like
true.
that's so true. Like, oh man,
Yeah.
that's a whole nother podcast
That's a
episode.
whole
But
nother
yeah,
thing. But it is like you said, you're like what look but from looking at it, changing your perspective to I don't want to be seen, I don't want to be online. It's like how you just made that shift of like who needs to hear this today?
right,
Mm,
And that is when we make that shift, you're going like, we always say like sales is service. Is like
right.
when you shift from the sales aspect of it to the service aspect of it, that's the shift. Is like
Yeah,
yes.
who needs this? Even if there's
Mm.
that's the
one
thing. Is like
person.
even one person at a time, one person at a post, no people at a post. Maybe it takes 50 posts to reach the people that you're supposed to reach, but that's that's what's giving me the ability to be like, I didn't die. We posted this and someone heard it. And so when Jashira, you were sharing, like people in our community was like, man, we want to hear more of this, or we want to be on the podcast. It's like, okay, there is
Yeah.
a need for this. That
Yeah.
conversation needs to be had, right? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know what
And a lot
too?
of people do.
Right.
Like they've been reaching out like, oh, can I be on this?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is
Like,
like,
you sure can.
yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this is a dream just to be like, what can this become? What conversations can be had? Like,
Right.
Mm-hmm. And
honestly,
two, I feel like with this space, it's easy to be productive and to be of service because we are just bouncing off of each other, and we like to be real, we aren't getting any money from this. Like we aren't getting anything like other than everything from that. Does that make sense? Like
yeah.
we're not doing this for our own form of like we want something. We're just doing this and it's easy to bounce off of each other in this space. The challenge of it and the real test of it is doing it by yourself. Like when you're off of this space, like how can you hold this same integrity, these same morals, and share it to your audience through
That's a
your
really good
lens?
question, Francis, because
Yeah.
that's what I've been thinking about. I'm like, the podcast comes so easily. We have the conversations that are so important. I'm like, how do I do that on my own? Like, how
Yeah.
do I
Mhm.
create community within my own page, you know?
Well, like, and
And
honestly, two points. One is like you just gotta start. But
Mhm.
two, it's like for me when I start, because I was so in my shell before this business. And that's one thing that I can say about this business that really like opened the door up for me. It has helped me build my confidence so much. Like I never would just hop on camera and talk to however many
Yeah,
people.
I see you like going on lives, talking to your business.
yeah.
Girl,
Like, look at the share
going
go.
the
Okay.
I never was that person. People that know me and that like grew up with me, I'm soft spoken. Like I'm an introvert.
You're the
I'm,
good
all
girl.
these things.
Mhm.
The good girl.
Mhm.
And now stepping into like my own voice, it is very empowering and it feels so good. And it's like the more you do it, even like on our, in our community when we had our Zoom calls and our trainings and stuff, I wouldn't even have my camera on because
Yep.
I was so
Mm.
scared to even just have my camera on.
Yep.
Yeah.
People aren't even caring. They're not paying attention. They're paying attention to the freaking call. But I was like, oh my God, people are staring at me. People are looking at me. Like, what if, all these things? And it's like, now that I'm like years in and I've been, putting in the reps and like practicing. And I have so much, like so many videos of me just like recording
Yeah.
myself. Like,
Yep.
okay, I'm thinking of something that I want to say. I'm going to start recording. And I never posted it because I was just like, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Me. Well,
Like,
also that
I
like
have
when you press
so many
record.
videos like that. But
Yeah.
but the thing of how, going back to you, Francis, of like how you said, when you set the intention and then you follow it up, you keep your word to yourself, you build that confidence because then you build that trust. And it's that self trust. And it's like, okay, I'm going to post it because the inner part of me is telling me, like, just do it, just post it.
Mm.
Somebody needs to hear this.
Right.
And even if it's you and you watch your video back and you're like, I'm so proud that I did that. That's literally it. And
It,
so like I
yeah.
kept like doing that and
It
doing it. And
literally
now
creates
it's become
safety
so
because
natural.
Mhm.
because the ego is saying we might die if you do this.
Yes,
We
exactly.
may die. And the continuous exposure is creating safety in your nervous system saying, "Hey, we're
Right.
okay. Nothing
Right.
happened. We survived that. You
Exactly.
got a hateful comment. You're still here. Nothing
You know
happened."
Oof,
what's so
That's-
crazy
You know what I
too?
the
mean? Like the
hateful
things that
comments.
you build up in your head.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, something terrible is gonna happen to me if that happens." And it's like, "Nope, we're still here. We're
Yeah.
okay."
And
Yeah.
I've heard this so many times that our brain can't decipher anxiety and fear of judgment versus if we were in the wild and we were about to get hunted
Yes,
down
it
by a
thinks the
freaking
lion
lion.
is coming. It's like, if
Yes.
the lion is coming, do not post. We're gonna
Hmm.
die. Like,
Yep.
don't
But
look,
like you,
it's gonna
yeah,
kill us.
like you
Yeah.
said, Nettie, every time you do it, then you're like,
Oh,
oh,
we're
you're
safe.
telling yourself, like,
You're
yeah,
okay.
we're okay.
The
We did
lion
it.
didn't come.
Look it, we're still alive. We did it. Good job. And then it's like, oh,
Oh,
okay,
okay. Maybe post
okay,
again. Okay,
And then
let's do it again.
yeah.
I feel like
It's
that's
true,
another thing
Francis,
too.
that it's the
Mhm.
same thing. It's like we're just trying to keep you alive, and all these things
Yep.
feel like
Yep.
they're gonna kill you. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another thing too, and I feel like this has helped me personally a lot, Deshara. I feel like you have made a huge shift when you were introduced to the right community. Like
Yeah.
no, there is so there's such an importance of having people around you and people you can talk to daily that hold you accountable, that remind you of your goals, that remind you of your morals, that remind you of the integrity that you set when you started this business. Like that is something that is so important, and if you don't have that, like
I
our
feel like
worst.
that for both of you.
Mhm.
When you
Yeah.
guys got with the with your people, right? The ones
Yeah.
that resonated with you, the ones that clicked, there was a huge shift.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's
And
the
that's
thing is
something
like,
that I'm considering heavily right now. I'm
well,
like,
Yeah.
and we
you know,
we are a separate community. I would say we're a co community, right? Because we hold each other accountable, but we're not talking to each other every single day, even though it feels like it every time we hop on here. Our separate communities, because there's just naturally going to be people we can vibe with and talk with every single day. And Deshara, that's you and your coaches, you and your team, things like that. And you've been growing so much with that. Me, I've been growing so much with the people that I've been like talking to every single day. My mindset has shifted so much from lack, from desperation, from I don't know if I can do this, from like how do I do this to oh, I don't know how. I just have to move forward. And so with Nettie and for women on this call, if you're watching, like if you don't have somebody around you that you're talking to every single day, like every day, reminding you of your goals, pushing you forward, like bouncing off ideas and like dreams and visions that you can like work with each other and bring to life, like that is so important because it helps you build confidence. It helps like it just helps you be a leader. Like there's so much in that, and that's just like a big piece of the puzzle because
I agree.
it's easier to do it when you're with the people. It's harder to do it alone. It is
Yeah.
really
Go,
hard to do it
what's
alone.
that saying? Like, go, if you want to go further, go together.
Hmm.
Yes. Yeah. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go
Go,
together.
go
Yeah.
together.
Hmm.
And that's so like, okay, somebody, I don't know which one of you said in the beginning of like some people, they'll just kind of like everything's going good and they just like get it and it's going fast.
Oh, just
Hmm.
Francis was saying like, oh, the
Okay.
business is flowing. It's good. It's good. It's
Yes.
yep.
So there are people that start that way and it's just like boom. And it's like, how the fuck
And
did they do
you're
that?
like, the
Excuse
fuck
me.
just happened?
Yeah. Like how
50K in what? 3 months?
yeah. And it's like, but then there's other people that it took some time. It took some time to gain momentum, whether it was like they put their business down because of lights or they built this like for me, like I built this very, very slowly. I always like say I'm like the type of person that I never just jump into a pool or jump into the water. Like I gotta acclimate.
Acclimate. You acclimate.
I like I
You
put the water
acclimate.
on
Feel a
myself
little
and I'm like,
water.
I'm not one like my husband, he is that person. He's like, I'm just gonna jump. I'm not like
Mm.
that. I'm like, let me just acclimate a little bit and then I'll, dip my toes in. So that's what I did with this business. Like I built it on the side, I tested it out. I was drinking the water and just feeling the benefits of that. And like, then I would just share and so now it's like, I'm at that point where like I'm all in, but
Mm.
it's been years.
Mhm.
I didn't have that overnight success. I mean, most people don't, but like I built it slowly. And I feel like because it was hard for me in the beginning, I didn't have direction. And, but I didn't let that stop me. And I kept going. And I think that now, because of all of the obstacles that I've dealt with, now when I have people that I am mentoring, I can help them through that because I actually experienced it.
Mhm.
Whereas like maybe some people, they didn't experience that. They were like, oh well, this is what worked for me.
Right.
So here you go, you can try it. But what if it doesn't
That's the
work for
thing, is
them?
like a lot of people are looking for that relatability, not the one making multiple six figures, because now it's not that they can't relate, it's just that, can you get to that same level with someone and say,
Right.
I
And they're
went
like,
through
how
this.
do I do that?
Yeah,
Like that's working for you, but it's not working for me. So like
right,
what do I go from here? And it's
right.
like
Yeah.
we, and I'm not just talking for me, but like all of us, we've had all these obstacles. We've had all the mindset,
The
like
blocks.
the overthink but it's like hardcore,
Right.
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
For real.
it's a daily struggle sometimes, but we don't let it stop us. And when there's other people that we start to mentor and they have those moments, they have those days, they life starts freaking lifing, we can coach them through it. And
Mm,
I think that that is so powerful
The
because
value.
that's if you want to go far, you go together because you're building that strong foundation. So then it's not going to break
I
yeah.
because
agree.
we built it. We solid. So we can
Hmm.
just
Mhm.
keep going and going and going. Whereas like somebody that just like, phew, they finally hit a lot of people in this business, they hit 6A and then they stop.
So many.
Why?
So many.
Because they didn't deal with like all the little things probably through their first.
It's so crazy,
And
but it's
I'm
true.
not
They like
saying
you're
that.
like, where'd they go? They were doing
Right,
so well. They just fell off.
right. They just fell off and it's like life or whatever the case. I mean, again, it's like the beauty of this business is you can put it down and then when you're ready to pick it back up, you're right there where you left off.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
you don't have to start over from scratch. And that's like such a saving grace. But yeah, I mean, I really do believe that when you have like the slower start in your building, like all of this, I don't know, I don't want to like go on and on, but you get what I'm saying,
No,
right?
I do. And also like I just want to like circle back to it's the community, like the community that you build around yourself. And you do like cuz for me, I didn't have a community. Like before I met my people, I was like how am I going to meet my people? Like I was like searching for the how am I going to meet my people?
Yeah.
And I found my people through doing the things that I said that I was going to do, slash putting myself out of my comfort zone. Right? Like I had to do that. I was like, I'm tired of not getting any responses on social media. I'm gonna physically go out to my local market. I have the cutest town in the world. What am I doing? Like I want to socialize. I want to network. And networking isn't just online. Like networking is in person as well. And so whatever it takes for you, whether it's you, Nettie, whether it's you, Deshara, I know we're like all on different levels of our business, but it's like whatever it takes for you to take that first step and put yourself out of the comfort zone. God's going to give you those people. Like people are going to match their go- everything's energetic. Okay? So God's going to give you the same energy you're putting out. So if you're
Absolutely.
putting out like the lack, you're putting out the desperation, you're putting out the like I don't know what to do confusion, it's like nothing's going to come of it cuz it's literally like a
You're
magnet.
attracting what
You're like
you're
Right,
putting out.
right. And
Absolutely.
like for you, Francis, like I love that you brought that up because it's like you were trying the online and it's like you were fit, you were trying it on for size and you're like, you know what, this isn't working for me. Let me do something that's more like me. It's the
mhm.
in person. You started doing these markets and that's when you saw your momentum and I think that that is so beautiful because you can do whatever. Like Nettie, if you
Anything.
don't want to do online, you don't have to. It's like that's not just like the end all be all.
Right.
Mm.
Yes, it's going to help you like grow and stuff, but you can also grow offline. And there's so many people in this business that do this offline that have like found so much success. And I think that there's a different vibe when you're in person for sure. Like, I don't know.
And it
It's
helps
something
you
so different.
it helps you build that confidence too. Like that's what I was looking for, was the confidence and the literal, like I wanted that challenge. I wanted to be
Yeah.
faced with people like, so what is XYZ, right? Like what is this? What is that? What is this? What is this? What does that mean? I wanted
Hmm.
that because I wasn't getting it and
Hmm.
I was craving the learning experience and like the push to grow kind of experience. And like that's how I know in myself I was ready for more. And I was
Yeah.
ready for that. And I see that in you, Nettie. Like, and that's where
Yeah.
it's like you're ready for this. You just have
Yeah.
to figure out what works best for you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily like because I'm not like against being online. I plan to fully be online. And whether that looks like later down the line, I had to start somewhere. And that
Hmm.
somewhere for me was physical. So I could learn because I wasn't
Yeah.
learning the way I wanted to learn. Like
Yeah.
sometimes God's like, "Hey, I know what you want, but you got to go this way." Like not what you want, you know? And so that's kind of where I like for me I learned was physical. Like I had to start somewhere. And
Yeah.
it's like for anybody. Like
And for me too, actually, like when I first, for the longest time, I wanted, and that's one of the things that you're like, oh, I want to do, but I don't ever do it because I'm scared or like
mm,
whatever. It was doing an in-person market. I wanted to do that. I wanted to set up a table and do water demos and like, and get this out to the community.
Yep.
And that's the first and foremost, like this water is fucking amazing. Like we got to get this out to people. And
mm,
so like I
Yeah.
cannot stand in that way. I can't stand in that way anymore. Like I want to get out. And so I met I met this person who's also in Magic. She's in a different community than us and like where we met. But come to find out, she lives like 40 minutes away from me.
Yeah.
And now we've become like the best of friends. And we did
mm,
this water market together. And it was so funny when we did because she was also on the other end, like, oh my God, I've been wanting to do this too, but I've been too scared. And now
Yeah.
that I
yeah.
have somebody to do it with, like, we did a couple markets, made a couple sales,
Yeah.
and we built like the confidence. Oh my God.
Yeah.
After that, I was like, first of all, it's easy content. You can just post about it because you literally
Yeah.
did it
Yeah.
and you lived it. But it like built so much confidence because yeah, like you said, Francis, like you're right there and people are right in front of you. You know, you can't like just kind of
Oh,
look it up or here, I'll send you this resource. Like you are the person right there
Yeah.
and they're asking you the questions and you just talk.
The trial and error is happening in
Yes.
vivo.
Yeah. Um,
Love it.
so yeah, it's I don't know, maybe and it's also funny because this is how you found out about the water, Netty, is that you were at a market.
Yes. And yeah, and that's the thing is that's my comfort zone is markets and that's the thing is like I with this whole like all this health stuff like it's I haven't even been able to drive the 6 months so that's been humbling but now this past week actually I've been driving quite a bit and I'm like okay like I can go drop off my pamphlets I
like
can
life feels normal almost.
like I
Yeah.
it's been like man I'm gonna end on this like life humbles you but sometimes it's it's necessary so like
Mm.
you're never gonna catch me taking a road trip for granted you're never gonna like there's so many things that I'm like there was nothing tragic that happened in my life but like I got humbled to a point that like I will not be taking things for granted the things that
Yeah.
we just do every day.
And like, ugh, I just have to say this too because like my biggest struggle, another one of my biggest struggles was like really just making my personality anagic. And I'm not saying that that is like bad, but I was like a billboard. And so when I did the thing, right, and I was like going out facing like what I wanted to learn, I realized like holy crap. And I feel like you learn this too in your online, form too, Deshara. It's like you don't have to be this one spokesperson for a Enagic. You can be that's just who you are. Like who you are, Nettie, your story, like you had to go through a health journey and you had to like it wasn't just water that saved your ass. Like you had to do supplements. You had to do like all of these different
All the
things to
things.
try out,
Yeah.
right? Because like your health was in need of that. And
Mhm.
so it's like yes, the water is something that you are passionate about, but there's so many other things that people could use your help on. And so
Right.
it's like almost like we're all health coaches, we're all motivational coaches in some sort of way, in some form of way, because it's like we're not just billboards for Enagic, even though that is a great source of income, that is a great source of passive income. Like, however you choose to build the business, it doesn't have to be like that way. And so that was what had me stuck for a long time, was like, how am I going to build the business with an Agic? Like, I was
Mhm.
wrapping an Agic around, like I was wrapping myself in an Agic. I wasn't wrapping an Agic in
And
myself,
when it
or
can
vice
just,
versa.
yeah, yeah, I get you.
No, that
You
makes
know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah. It's a part of you. It's not
Right.
Hmm.
you.
It's yeah,
Hmm.
it's not your
And
identity.
and it is like, and that's something for me too. Like once it started kind of clicking for me, I was like, I'm not only this water. Like, of
Yeah.
course, it's a huge staple in my life,
Right.
but that's literally like it's integrated into my life because of all these other things. Like, I'm very like, low tox living
Conscious.
and like
Yeah.
living intentionally um and starting that, like I freaking live in an apartment in the city, like
Hmm.
I don't live on a homestead like out in the
Like,
boondocks,
how do
like
you do it from where you
living my
are, right? Where people
Yeah.
like have
exactly
30 acres or whatever. Yeah.
right. Like I'm starting my homestead now in my freaking little
Hmm.
apartment
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I want to,
Right.
Hmm.
like that's my vision, but I'm making the small steps to do it. And I think like once we really find out like who we are and what lights us up and how this business literally it connects no
Yeah.
matter what,
Yes. Yeah.
like you're health conscious, you're
Like
you have a lot of
spiritually.
like
Yeah.
holistic background, like you have taught like you've taught me so much in just like
Mhm.
our meetings
Yeah.
of
That's the thing that I'm trying to wrap my head around is
yeah,
like we all say, "Oh, I don't know enough. Nobody cares," and I'm assuming everybody knows all these things, and I'm like, this could be really powerful. There's just this one thing for somebody,
yeah,
like
yeah.
take
Well,
what they
okay,
need, kind of
I
thing. But
will.
yeah, we're on time. We
Yeah,
gotta
I do.
wrap it up.
I gotta hop off.
Yep.
I have a call
All right,
coming
ladies.
up in like 9 minutes.
All
You're
right.
But
done.
I did want to just end off on this little note because we're talking about our voice and stepping into that. Literally, this little book that I've been my little journal. Um, literally today
Oh my
was "You
gosh.
Are Voice." That's what it.
The
That's what it
connection
is,
with this and
You are
whenever we have,
voice.
I'm like,
bro. But
We should
okay,
hop
so
off of. Okay, sorry. I was gonna say we should
I'm
do the
gonna
same
read
thing.
it real quick, but it's just like the last. So it said, when we use our voice as an extension of God's voice, we create the way God creates. To that end, you don't just have a voice, you are voice. It's central to your identity. Your voice is the larger message that your life and beliefs are naturally meant to convey. Your voice unlocks the greater purpose and possibility in others. Oh, that's it.
Hallelujah.